Hello and welcome. I'm Thomas Porteous and you're watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. An Israeli strike destroys a 15-story high-rise in Gaza City, the second tower hit in 2 days, with the military saying Hamas used the building for operations. Defense Minister Israel Katz vows to continue as footage shows the Sussi Tower collapsing into rubble. President Donald Trump says India and the United States share a special relationship, despite tensions over tariffs and Russian oil purchases. Trump insists there is nothing to worry about, calling such disputes only moments on occasion. President Trump warns Venezuelan jets will be shot down if they threaten U.S. naval ships after Caracas flew warplanes near American vessels for the second time in 2 days. The warning comes after a U.S. strike killed 11 people on a Venezuelan boat accused of drug trafficking, as Washington deploys more Marines, warships and F-35 jets to the Caribbean. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer shakes up his cabinet after Angela Rayner resigns over a tax scandal, naming David Lammy as Deputy Prime Minister, Yvette Cooper as Foreign Secretary and Shabana Mahmood as Home Secretary. Starmer is expected to announce more changes to the lower ranks in the coming days. Lebanon's cabinet approves an army plan to establish a state monopoly on arms and begin disarming Hezbollah, though no timeline is set and capabilities are limited. Hezbollah official Mahmoud Kamati calls the move an opportunity to return to wisdom and avoid slipping into the unknown. A new report from Canada's Finance Department formally acknowledges that Khalistani extremist groups are operating in the country with financial support. The report classifies them as terrorist organizations that promote violence to pursue political goals and self-determination. The mother of Israeli hostage Matan Angrest says she was told her son's life is in immediate danger over a phone call marking the 700th night in captivity. In a post addressed to Prime Minister Netanyahu, Anat Angrest vowed to protest outside his residence until action is taken. Thailand's new Prime Minister-elect Anutin Charnavakulul names his first cabinet picks, including a former Treasury chief, a top energy executive and a senior diplomat. He says the team will bring confidence amid political turmoil as he promises a referendum and election within 4 months. We start this hour in West Asia, where an Israeli strike has destroyed a second high-rise building in Gaza City within 2 days, according to witness and military officials. The Israeli Defense Forces say the building targeted was used by Hamas, the terrorist organization. The structure, identified as the 15-story Sussi Tower, was seen collapsing in videos shared online. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz confirmed the operation on social media, stating, quote, "We're continuing," alongside footage of the strike. This marks an escalation in the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestinian groups in Gaza, with further developments expected as the conflict rages on. We are now joined by Mati Zaweg. He is a geopolitical expert and he joins us live from Israel. Mati, thank you very much for joining us and pleasure to have you on the program.
Pleasure, Thomas. Thank you.
What independent and justifiable evidence does the IDF have that supports the claim that this Sussi Tower was used for Hamas military intelligence or command operations, and how does it obtain it?
This tower is, they have intelligence that they are all kind of Hamas militants inside. I mean, you know, we are in a war, and in a war there are hundreds or thousands of targets, and the question is the people is very shocked by images of a high-rise apartment building falling down. And this is not the issue, because these apartments, they don't have been with civilians inside, because Israel is telling them they are going to bomb there. This is first. This is, you don't have this in another wars, but this war has been broadcasted 24 hours a day, and that's what it is. This is another target of the war. This is not the core issue of this war. And the core issue of this war is that you have two sides. One side that is continuing to avoid to free the hostages that they still have, 48 now, in order to remain in power, a power that it has not, a power that all the world, Europe and the United States and the Arab countries themselves, most of the moderates, I mean, they are asking them to step down, to dismantle themselves. They don't do it. They make Israel go inside, attack them, and then their tool is to use all the media in the world in order to put them pressure on Israel, and this circle is going again and again every day.
Matti, the Gaza Health Ministry says that nearly 62,000 Palestinians have now been killed in this war. As you've said, we've all seen these photos on social media of the suffering going on in the enclave. Israel Katz earlier today said he was going to open the, quote, gates of hell in Gaza City. Given all the international condemnation and, of course, the hostages which still remain in Gaza, what are your thoughts on Israel's military operations and how they are combating currently in this current operation?
Well, this is another conflicted theme because even the Israeli public is very divided about that because we have been fighting against them for almost 2 years. They still have 2 battalions, especially in Gaza and in a place close to Gaza also. And they are the big, and now the government is asking for the population to move again to the south, to Al-Mawasi area, which is an humanitarian aid area. But also in the past, this humanitarian aid area has been the scene of fightings also with Hamas militants. Anyway, we are going in circles because Israel is not really entering the city of Gaza for avoiding also a lot of injured soldiers or dead for themselves. They are waiting to see when is the right time to do it. And now they are just, you know, like targeting all these buildings and all these areas that they have information that they have terrorists inside. And we are going to talk again and again, and it's going to be always the same. Both extremist sides are feeding themselves. When they have excuses for all the government, because in Israel you have a government which is very special, has never been in the history, and now is formed by religious and right-wing components that they were never the main core of any government in the past. And now Hamas themselves, they are giving excuses for this government to continue saying it's the only card we have in hand. We have to continue attacking and to continue entering until we'll do everything in a military way. And so I think it must be a common effort from all the parts, from Qatar, Egypt, the United States, Europe even, asking from Hamas to do their part and fulfill an agreement that free the hostage and dismantle themselves. When they are going to be very, very active about this request, I think things are going to be much better, and they are not going to give the extremists in the Israeli government the excuses to continue in the policy they are having these days.
Yes, Matti, do stay with us. We have further updates from the conflict. The Israeli Defense Forces have issued urgent evacuation orders in Gaza City, urging residents to flee ahead of planned strikes on a high-rise tower it claims houses Hamas infrastructure. Leaflets were dropped over the city, directing civilians to move southward to a designated humanitarian zone in Al-Mawasi. As Israeli forces intensify their operations, they push deeper into Gaza City's remaining strongholds, signalling a major escalation in the ongoing military offensive to capture the territory's largest urban centre. Here's what some of the residents had to say.
المنشورات على قطاع غزة رحلوا. احنا بدنا نضل صامتين هنا. وكانوش طالعين من البلد. بقول لك المواسم منطقة عندنا، وين تروح غاد بطبوا فيك ضرب، وين نروح؟ وأنا معيش مصاري أطلع أصلا مقلب 20 مليون، ولا خيمة ولا دار ولا أكل، وأجر معايا 15 نفر عندي، وين أجرهم؟ مش قادر بقدرش وأنزل حالي، أنا بدي أموت هنا. تكاليف المواصلات اللي كانت تكلف 10% اليوم بتكلف 100%.
Matti, Israel has been naming Al-Mawasi now a safe zone, a humanitarian area. However, previously, obviously, it has not been. Can you tell us why Israel is naming it this when it has been such a place of violence in the past?
Well, we are talking about the Gaza Strip. It's a very tiny place with a very dense population. So Al-Mawasi, it can be at this moment, in the current situation of things, one of the best places to be. It's not ideal. I mean, there is no place that is ideal now in a place that has almost no buildings and almost no way of escaping, because their Arab brothers of Egypt, they also don't open their gates and then don't let even one family to go out from the Gaza Strip. It's also a nice question that someone has to ask too. Maybe the hundreds of thousands of innocents could fly to the Sinai, but they cannot do it because Egypt closed. So Israel has found some places that are safer than others. They're asking population to move there. And this is really a very crazy situation, of course, but this is still a war, an ongoing war that is not going to finish until Hamas is not going to change the way they are behaving. And also putting on a corner a government that is saying now the only thing we have to do is more and more attacks in order to finish with Hamas.
Okay, Matti, do stay with us. We stay, but we move on to a related topic in Europe, where British police officers have arrested protesters demonstrating against the ban of Palestine action in London. The group was banned days after claiming responsibility for a break-in at an Air Force base in southern England, which the government claims caused an estimated £7 million worth of damage to 2 aircraft. Dozens of protesters also surrounded a small group of officers in Parliament Square. A number of people have been detained already, and police say anyone attending the rally will be acting unlawfully and could face arrest. Matti, obviously we have seen pro-Palestinian protests all over the globe from countries that Israel traditionally calls its allies. The UK, however, there's one group in particular, Palestine Action, which has now been designated a terrorist group. It's in the same bracket as Hamas, where anyone associated or claims that it supports that group can technically be arrested. What are your thoughts about that? Do you believe that this group deserves to be designated a terrorist group in the same bracket as Hamas is?
Look, you are talking about the Labour government, and I think also Labour or any other government, they are entitled to do the differentiation between a pacific protest or people chanting or even blocking a road with another ones that they have another sources and another goals. And this one, the Action for Palestine, they have proved that they have another sources and another goals, like vandalizing, like making suffering all the population in the streets and everything only to get their goals. And they have been designated. I think it's not very easy to designate in a democratic country a group of people a terrorist organization. It must be very good reasons for that. And in this case, it doesn't matter if we are talking today or yesterday, there were manifestations not only in London, also in Belfast, also in Edinburgh. Also, it doesn't matter if they are in Buenos Aires or in New Delhi. People shouldn't vandalize and broke things and vandalize shops and everything in order to take out, steam off in their anger about something and stealing products and all kinds of things that they are doing. So if they are labeled a terrorist organization, the police are entitled to arrest them and to give back peace on the streets, independently of what's happening in Gaza or in any place. And also, of course, there are a lot of people that are shouting to the police, so this is part of a manifestation. This has nothing to do with terrorism, but other things they are. And I think that if even a government like the Labour government is sticking on this, it's because they have very good reasons, and they don't want a slippery road to anarchism only because some people is angry about a conflict thousands of kilometers from their home.
Matti, of course, Israel and the European West are traditional allies. Israel takes part in the things like the European Song Contest and the European Championships when it comes to sport. How do people in Israel feel when it sees the streets of its allies' capitals lined with pro-Palestinian protesters? And it doesn't obviously just span to Europe. Of course, Australia, we've seen a huge down spiraling in relations there. What do the people of Israel think about some of their closest allies and the people and the public feeling this way about their war in Gaza?
Look, despite all the problems in Israel and the change of government and everything you want, Israel is still a liberal democracy and a part of the West. So for most of the Israelis, for millions of Israelis that also are getting used every year to go once, twice to travel to Europe and to go to different places, even as tourists, the last 2 years has been a hell. People is being rejected, people is being spitted, people is being thrown from restaurants. Imagine that some I don't know, Indian, and you have Indian tourists and people is getting out from some restaurant because they don't like Indians. I mean, how would you feel? And this is not only in this kind of way, also in official things, like only in the last 2 days in Spain, a group of youths that went there to play chess in an international competition, they were strong from the competition for being Israelis, Israeli children. Okay, this is already not anti-Israelism. This is anti-Semitism. This is to be anti-people that they are Jewish, also against Jewish people that go to pray in some place. I mean, there is a wave not only of anti-Israelism, also anti-Semitism, that everybody link like it's the same. If someone is a Jew in Spain or in Ireland, so they are loyal to their places, but they have the heart with Israel, so they are to blame, and they have people and the masses that they are pro-Palestine, which is, you know, another question. What is to be pro-Palestine? To be pro-AP or to be pro-Hamas? Because when you are pro-AP, so maybe you want to have a future of peace, but if you are pro-Hamas, you cannot be pro something that has nothing to do with any prospect of peace in the future.
Okay, Matti's awake there. Thank you very much for joining us here on NewsX World. Pleasure to have you on the programme. We now move over to North America, where the US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order providing some tariff exemptions to trading partners who enter into an agreement with the US regarding industrial export of nickel, gold, chemicals and other metals. Over 45 categories have been identified by Trump for exemption on reciprocal tariffs. The order further stated that he exempted products are divided into 4 categories, such as generic pharma and their ingredients, unavailable natural resource and closely related derivative products. Trump also stated that his willingness to reduce tariffs would depend on several factors, including the scope and economic value of trading partners' commitments to US in agreement on reciprocal tariffs. This executive order may open a new door of further tariff negotiations. We are now joined by Peter Cardillo. He is a chief market economist at Spartan Capital Securities, and he joins us live from New York, the United States. Peter, thank you very much for always joining us on the program. Peter, what is your interpretation of this executive order? Why is it so important for the United States, and how will it affect the trade and current negotiations in tariffs?
Well, I think it's a start that perhaps things are going to break down in terms of the harsh tariffs that were imposed on some of the countries, and these exemptions means that perhaps the tariff theory, or I should say agenda, is beginning to weakening. And I think the reason for that is twofold. One, because here in the United States, we're seeing the labor market that has weakened, has basically come to a crawl, an indication that somewhere along the line, the consumers are likely to pull back on spending, and that could mean trouble for the U.S. economy. Another important factor, even though it doesn't necessarily equate to the question that you asked me, is the fact that we're seeing Trump make an about face with India. He's going out of his way since yesterday to say, the prime minister is my friend. I just don't like some of the things he's doing. And of course, this is important. Why is it important? Well, we've seen that relationship between Modi and Trump suffer to the point where we saw a strength of unity at the SOC conference, referring to Putin, Xi Jinping, and Modi, showing a strong sign of unity. And so I think that's got the United States to think and say, well, look, we need other countries to trade with. They need the United States. They need some of our products as we need some of their products. And so I think this is very important. So when you have an executive order that begins to exempt certain products, I think it's a step forward. And that means sooner or later that there will probably be negotiations with a lot of these countries that have not yet worked out a deal with the United States. And I am convinced that the high tariffs that was slapped on some of the countries such as India, that they will be brought down perhaps towards that 15% level.
Yes, and Peter, these exemptions cover more than 45 different categories, including generics, natural resources, and derivative products. Why these sectors, and what does it tell us about US economic priorities?
Well, I think it's a good indication that, that the White House realizes that the economy is not performing the way they want it to perform. And the last thing they want to do, I'm going to go back to this other point, is to weaken the consumer. And with the labor market being weak, obviously that's a big threat to the U.S. economy. So I think various sectors that are very important for the growth of the economy, and also for the workforce, for the job markets. A lot of these sectors obviously include a lot of workers, so you wouldn't want to see more layoffs coming.
Peter Cardillo, thank you very much. Pleasure to talk to you as always. We now move on and over to Europe, where people have paid their respects to Giorgio Armani at the Armani Theatre, where his coffin was displayed for everyone to pay their tributes. Following Armani's passing, numerous celebrities offered their condolences. Italian fashion designer Donatella Versace, Argentine model Valera Mazza, and Italian film director Giuseppe Tornatore also arrived at the Armani Theatre. Hundreds of admirers and his employees paid their last respects to the fashion icon. Tributes flew in unique ways, where a Neapolitan craftsman has paid tribute to the late fashion designer with a handcrafted terracotta figurine displayed in his workshop on Naples' famed San Giorgio Armeno Street. Mourners outside the Armani Theatre in Milan recounted their memories. Many people queued up at the Armani Theatre, including his employees, who shared their thoughts. Let's take a listen in to what they had to say.
Armani's name is equal to Italian, so it's to Italy. And I think he's a perfect embodiment of Italian design, and also he turned Italian elegance into a global fashion grammar, and he also consolidated Italians' voice and standing within the fashion world. And I think now he departed from us. I think it's my responsibility, and I'm obliged to come here.
2008 di lavorare proprio qua in showroom e sono venuta qua perché ho un ricordo di lui veramente forte, è una persona molto umile. Io ricordo che prima delle sfilate lui passava a salutare tutte noi dipendenti con un buongiorno ragazze, siete pronte? Quindi lui ci trasmetteva sempre forza e coraggio, e diciamo che questa sua forza e coraggio traspare anche nelle sue sfilate.
Sono dipendente, quindi sono sinceramente affezionata a lui. È stato proprio, non ci ha mai fatto mancare nulla. Lo ricorderemo sempre veramente ospitale, ci ha sempre aperto le porte di casa sua. Davvero una persona eccezionale. Non la conoscevo di persona ovviamente, però si è sempre fatto vedere nei nostri uffici e non è da poco, considerando quello che...
Well, that is all that we have time for, but we will continue to bring you more news updates from around the world.
ITV